I had developed a sense of self-worth that was based on my achievement. And so if I could achieve, then I was worth something. If I didn't achieve, I'm not worth something. And while I have a much better understanding of that today, I would say that still is with me. Like I still am constantly doing, tweaking projects, this side project, trying to get somewhere. And it's like, where? I don't know.
Welcome to Beyond the Bass, a podcast where we go beyond the music and into the full, authentic stories of your favorite artists. No sound bites or surface level moments. This is a space for depth, honesty, and connection. It's my hope you'll walk away feeling a little more connected to your favorite artists and maybe even a tad more inspired too. Today's guest is Kaplan, better known as Kaptain. He's an electronic music producer, musician, and performer based in Denver. His style is a blend of bass, soul, and funk, infused with analog synths and live instruments. And he's collaborated with artists such as Vincent Antone and Pfeiffer. Feel free to listen in pieces or jump around as you like. Now let's dive in. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. This is very exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited you're here. I'm really curious to dive into your story. And I mean, you're just a cool dude. So I'm stoked to just hear more about this cool dude.
Sounds good. I'm down.
Cool. So I always love to start by asking guests what they hope fans or people will take away from listening or watching this episode.
Oh, that.
What do you hope they'll take away?
What do I hope that they'll take away? I hope that they take away that music is a constant in my life, even though change is also a constant. And that's kind of what I've been identifying with recently. And so, yeah, I don't know if that's the only thing that needs to shine through, but I hope that shines through.
Yeah. Music is a constant, although change is also a constant.
Something like that, yeah.
Cool. I love it. That's kind of what I gleaned from doing my research on you.
Okay.
Because you've been doing this for a while. Several years. And
yeah, more than several, yeah.
Yeah, more than several years.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how you define
yeah,
several.
Totally.
But and you're still going and you're going strong.
It doesn't always feel that way, but yeah, I mean, you could say that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm excited to dive in. Before we do, well, I guess to start, why don't you take a look under the seat cushion that you're sitting on?
Under the seat cushion?
Yeah, so like the crack in between here, and grab what's under there.
There's nothing.
There is something.
Do I need to get out?
Maybe you might have to get out. Oh, there it is. Well, don't open it yet. Go back in your seat, and then get yourself positioned.
Okay.
And then open it.
Okay. Should I show it?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I'll put an overview picture in the footage.
This is a classic. Good find.
Yeah. So tell us who young Steven was. That kid in that picture. Adorable, by the way.
Thanks. So a lot of what my understanding of myself at that age is what I've been told more than what I distinctly remember.
Sure.
But I think I don't know.
And what age was that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I should
Roughly.
I should know this now that I have a kid, but I mean, it's got to be what, like, I don't know, 2 or I don't know. What do you think? I literally have no idea.
I have no idea either.
Not a super young baby, but not quite like a school age kid yet. So probably somewhere in between. Yeah.
Okay. Here, I'll grab that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't always dig that deep and like try to conjure up what I was like or whatever, but I've been told that I was sort of in some ways ahead of my age, confident in my ability to interact with adults and people of authority or whatever, and kind of surprised people by my like level of, I think, engagement and confidence in a way. That's what comes to mind, at least.
Yeah. And so that was mostly stuff that you'd been told.
Yeah, I mean, I have memories of kind of being that way more when I was like, school age, 5, 6, whatever, but it's really hard to reach back that far. I mean, I actually have been, I've had some like visions of memories come back, and like, you know, being in preschool and stuff, I can sort of remember those days, but I don't really remember exactly my personality. Yeah,
I mean, that's fair. It is very far back.
it
So,
is.
what do you remember from being a younger child? And maybe it's not 2 or even 5, but just childhood.
Oh man, these are great questions. I definitely remember being a smart little kid. You know, starting from the very beginning, maybe even preschool. You know, like a teacher's pet to some extent, at least at the
Mm,
beginning. Um, I remember being sort of willing to speak my mind at a young age, and sort of, yeah, creative, but not in the way that I feel now. Sort of just creative in the sense of I was a little kid who was thinking things and expressing them, and that sort of a thing.
mm.
Um, I remember making my first friends. I mean, I have memories of like that, you know, those types of interactions. Um, yeah, that's such a striking question. It's really hard to answer, honestly.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well, teacher's pet is interesting.
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
it sounds like you've had a relationship with authority. You
Ye-
mentioned that in some degree.
Well, I think it was just I don't know exactly how it was instilled in me, but I definitely think that like the sort of values around academia and academia is a funny way to put kindergarten, but you know what I mean.
Sure.
Academics and uh, success, I guess maybe, or you know, accomplishment. I feel like those were heavily weighted in my childhood, and not that my parents were particularly strict, like, you know, you have to get straight A's. It wasn't quite like that. And yet, like, I do feel like that value was instilled in me. My sister was very high achieving, maybe just by default. Like,
Mm.
she just did that herself, and so she was my main role model growing up. She is 3 years older than me, and so I think I just kind of followed that's how I always felt about it. Is like, a lot of my path in terms of what I focused on was sort of just seeing my sister do it and being like, oh, that's normal, or that's how I should
Mm.
be moving through life. So yeah.
And that she's your only sibling?
Yep.
Okay, so one older sister.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and you grew up in New Jersey, right?
Yep, I did. Central New Jersey, a town called South Brunswick Township, and right between Princeton University and Rutgers University. Yeah, right in the middle of the state.
Yeah. So you mentioned kind of your sister being a high achiever academically and potentially something you aspired to because of seeing her. Do you
Yeah.
think that was like very much part of your conditioning as well, like from your family?
Yeah, somehow. I mean, once again, I don't remember like these like hard messages of like you have to do well in school. Like, you know, it wasn't
Sure.
like quite
Sure.
like that. You know, I hear a lot of my friends who were first generation immigrants from wherever, I felt like their parents were kind of giving them more that
Mm.
direct message. You know, it
Mhm.
wasn't quite like that, but yeah, in one way or another, that was getting instilled in me. And then also my town was one of those towns where, you know, a lot of people were moving there from a couple different countries, but definitely like a lot of people coming from India and China, and their parents were like chemical engineer. Like the pharmaceutical industry is really big in New Jersey, and then also
Mm.
some software stuff. And so a lot of people, really educated people, moving into the town. And so my classmates were like the kids of very well educated, high achieving people. And so just
Mm.
as, you know, especially getting into middle school and high school, it was just one of those sort of high achieving, competitive kind of towns. Of course, not for every student, right? But that was there for sure. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so that was there, and what was your relationship to that?
It was
Competitiveness?
like, I'm in it. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. I need to or I just, it wasn't even like, I mean, in retrospect, it probably was a pressure I was putting on myself, but it didn't feel like that at the time. It just felt like, this is what I'm doing. I'm capable of it. I'm in the mix. I'm trying very hard. I'm enrolling, and, you know, I'm trying to take the hardest classes and the tests and the, you know, just that whole universe of, this is all going to get me into college one day. You know what I mean?
Totally.
I was in that track for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned pressure, so you were putting pressure on yourself. Did that, like, lead to any consequences? Or were you very much just thriving in that environment? And I can very much relate to it, by the way. I
Yeah.
grew up also in New Jersey,
Right.
northern New Jersey,
Right.
in a at least from what you're describing, very similar kind of competitive type environment in school for college.
For sure. Yeah. It was like you're like a kid and like the main focus is like what's your career going to be practically. It's crazy.
Right,
I mean,
totally.
I knew kids when they were in middle school who like they were already preparing for their like 7-year med program that was going to take them into their, by the end of it really like their late 20s, 30s, whatever. And they were 14,
That's wow.
Yeah, that was kind of the vibe sometimes. So yeah, I'm sure you can relate. I mean, a lot of towns in New Jersey are like that. It's a very like well-educated place, despite popular belief sometimes. Yeah. But yeah, you were asking me sort of like how did that pressure manifest, or like what did
Yeah.
it lead to?
Yeah.
Well, I think what's interesting is at the time I'm just like normalizing everything, right? Like,
Sure.
and I'm not really thinking about it like, hey, I'm putting too much pressure on myself, or like this is causing me anxiety. But I think it was a lot of like burying anxiety and all that kind of stuff. And I think to get into it a little bit, like I would say at a certain point, so my parents got divorced when I was 15.
Okay.
And it's so funny, like it's not funny, but it's interesting. One of the first things I thought about when that happened was like, is everything going to fall apart? Like, am I going to start getting bad grades? Like, this is what, of course, in retrospect, like that's not what was important. My like emotions were what was important, but that's how I was thinking about things. And so, but I was like, no, I can't let that happen. And so what I did was I let that pressure and that kind of like focus on productivity and work and whatever become a way in which I could numb from my emotions. So I would say that like, I don't know if that quite answers your question, but it's almost like
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It became like it became a coping mechanism and something that I continued to normalize. I would say that the real recognition of things like having anxiety and these things didn't really come into play until maybe like even after college, where you're kind of in the real world. And a lot of people, I think, in their mid 20s start to deal with mental health issues. That's when it usually hits. And so like that's when it started to actually catch up to me. But at the time it was just go, go, go. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm focused on. I wasn't thinking about it on any other level other than that, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could very much relate to that. Also, the product of divorce. I don't remember.
Yeah,
if
I think you've told me about that. Yeah.
At coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and being in that competitive environment, there was definitely a lot of internal pressure
Totally.
for me as well. And so your coping mechanism sounds like mostly work.
I think so. Yeah. It was working my ass off with school, and then joining probably too many clubs and things like that to fill the time. And it's a double-edged sword, because all that stuff enriched me, and my life is so good because
Sure.
I worked my ass off and was educated, and I enriched myself with different things, and particularly music. I mean, I was in like every musical ensemble you could possibly imagine at school, and that was a lot to be going to a different practice or rehearsal or whatever every day of the week practically. But at the same time, look at me now,
Sure. Totally. I mean, double-edged sword, I think, is very accurate.
Yeah.
And so this pressure that you're putting on yourself, it sounds like it was working, right? Like you were achieving highly. Like what were you telling yourself? Like what were the fruits of your labor, I guess is the question.
I mean, I guess grades for whatever the fuck those are worth. I don't know. It's like, it was, accolades. It's like this certificate and this achievement and this special designation and this ranking in my class and this AP exam score. Like that stuff mattered, but in retrospect, it's like, it's all just like, I don't know. But,
Sure.
and then ultimately I'd say like, getting into like colleges and whatnot was probably like the main thing. I'd say after that is when, and once I went to college is when I started to think about the world a lot differently. But I guess that was the pinnacle, was like I got into a good school and like here I go,
Totally. And so, you're in all these classes, you're getting all these accolades. Like, why does that make you feel good? Like, what's the thought in your head?
That's a great question. And I mean, I think what I've looked into that myself through my own, internal exploration, I guess. And I think that for whatever reason, and there's it's up for debate what those reasons were, but I had developed a sense of self-worth that was based on my achievement. And so if I could achieve, then I was worth something. If I didn't achieve, I'm not worth something. And while I have a much better understanding of that today, I would say that still is with me. Like I still am constantly doing, tweaking projects, this side project, trying to get somewhere. And it's like, where? I don't know. But that's still with me. But at least I have a much better understanding of it now. And I can like call it out, which is something.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that sounds like a massive realization. Do you have any idea, like, where that mindset or those beliefs, like, developed?
It's not necessarily that I was explicitly, like, told, hey, your value is that you're getting good grades. I don't think it was quite like that. Maybe in very small ways, but I think it was more like, for whatever reason, my external world and whatever my surroundings weren't feeding me, I guess, what I needed, which I'm still figuring out what that is. I don't have the answers to that. But, and so what I saw was that, it's like I have a kid now. He's tiny. He's 4 months old. But like when he does something cute and we react, you can see he's starting to pick up on that. So that's how we are as humans, right? We learn what gives us positive attention, and we repeat that, especially as little kids. And so at the very, who knows what the whole picture was? I don't know. I'm still exploring that. But like, for sure, at the very least, if nothing else, if I did well, that yielded positive attention.
Yeah.
So I think then because of just who I am inside, just started to internalize that and build off of that. And like, yeah, it's interesting. I've definitely thought about this stuff, but this conversation is making me kind of materialize it in a way I haven't before. So yeah, thanks.
Totally.
Yeah.
Of course, dude. I mean, this is very much like an exploration to you as a human. And so it's not surprising to me that like this conversation might elucidate some things. Or
it's cheaper than my therapist too, by the way.
Therapy. I always joke it's like therapy.
I'm sure everyone on podcasts says that. I think I've heard that from people on podcasts before. Anyway, this is a good convo, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, what were some really formative memories of your childhood?
Formative memories.
I don't want to say the most formative.
Yeah, no, that's subjective. That's a lot. There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
in that
but
question.
Just like when I ask that question, is there one that comes to mind? It's like, oh wow, like that really shaped, like, who I became at the time.
Okay, something comes to mind. I don't know if it's the most formative, but it definitely was a kind of a critical time during my childhood, I would say. It's really interesting. Like I would not call myself the popular kid. I never was the popular kid, but what I was somebody that everybody could talk to, both the popular kids and the kids that were struggling or whatever. I mean, everyone probably was struggling when you think about it, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you think about those archetypes. Yeah, exactly. I know. I felt like I could communicate with the misfits. I could communicate with the jocks, whatever you want to classify people as, which is silly anyway. But and that was generally the thing, you know what I mean? I felt like I could chameleon into different groups and whatnot. And so, for lack of a better term, I was well liked, in school and whatnot, I think. But, for whatever reason, in 5th grade, I don't know what I was going through or what the conditions were. I'd gotten a little chubby. Maybe there was something there. I was starting to go through that like prepubescent awkward phase. I don't know how old you are in 5th grade. What is it, like 10 or something like that?
Probably.
You're starting to get a little bit closer to like puberty and whatnot, but not quite. And for whatever reason that year, I was like severely bullied for 1 year. It's still like kind of a mystery a little bit. You know what I mean? But yeah, I kind of like couldn't really find my place, and certain groups of kids were like making fun of me, and then 5th grade. I mean, not to just brush over it too much, but then like 5th grade ends, and I go to 6th grade, and I'm like, you know what, fresh start, and everything was better that year. Got over some hump, and I kind of just like found my way again. New mix of kids. Like kind of a new energy. But yeah, it sort of was a strange year. So I don't know, you say formative, I don't really know what about it formed me or how it affected me today. Sure. But it was like a strange notch in my upbringing or childhood. Yeah.
That's interesting
Yeah.
because you brought it up as like the formative example, and you're still unsure of how it like really shaped
Well,
you.
it's memorable. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how it was formative, but it was memorable.
Yeah.
I would say definitely. I mean, it's like it's hard to deny that like a formative experience for me was like probably my parents getting divorced. I mean, I've come to realize like it's not the only thing that's affected me really. It's but yeah, I mean that was a pretty sudden change in my consciousness as a kid or teenager or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a hard question though. I wish I had like someone introduced me to this and it blew my mind. You know what? Screw it. I'll say it because we're talking about music here at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Well, we are gonna weave in music, so
I think it's important to acknowledge like the musical transformation that you undergo when you're kind of getting into like a little bit into middle school, high school. Like you start to really like come into the world and start to like see culture around you and whatnot. And truly one of the most formative experiences of my childhood, I'm glad we got here, is this dude who was new to middle school. He had moved from another town. His name was Rico Cabredo. What's up if you're
Shout
listening?
out.
Yeah, what's up, Enrico? Awesome guy. Like so sick at guitar for a child. Like insane. He had a huge effect on me. He introduced me to classic rock, and there was a little bit, my dad, my parents, there was some of it floating around, but I really was, the Led Zeppelins, the Jimi Hendrix, the Doors, I mean, you name it, right? Pink Floyd, which is still like one of my favorite bands from that era, but I wasn't really aware of it. And he's like, dude, I got to show you this. He hands me like a burnt CD. I don't know if there's any like Gen Z or younger people listening, but like that was what it was about, burnt CDs. And it had, I think it was like a Led Zeppelin greatest hits. I don't think it was a particular album. I remember going home to my room, putting it on a sound system that my parents had got me, like this super nice like stereo like CD sound system for my room, and like play and then dun 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 dun, Communication Breakdown by Led Zeppelin. And like from there, I was like, holy, it was like a psychedelic moment before that whole, before that was accessible. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And yeah, completely blew my mind. And then I just lost it going into Jimi Hendrix. And yeah, I mean, I could name like 20 artists or 20 bands, but that was so important for me. And then on top of that, same dude, Rico, he was like, we should like make music. He's like, you play, because I'd started playing, I played a number of instruments, but I started playing drums when I was like in 5th grade. So I had like just enough experience to hold a beat and figure things out.
Wait, you were around like 5th grade at this time?
This is like 7th. This is probably 7th grade.
When you got introduced.
When he gave me that CD,
okay.
And then I just got fully in and started buying CDs and burning music and stuff.
Got it.
From those bands. Yeah, so then it's around the same time, he's like, we should make music. Like I have this software, Cakewalk. And he's like, let's learn how to do it. So I remember like him and I getting together and like wiring somehow like a long enough 1/4-inch cable that went like all the way from my computer room in the upstairs of my house all the way down to the basement where the drum set was. Like we like mic'd it kind of well and like we recorded music. And I mean, think about it. I mean, that both getting into kind of this more countercultural style of music, which I think you could argue like the electronic music scene that we're in today has a countercultural element to it to some extent. I mean, it's commercial, but still it's underground, depending on what you're doing. But and then also just literally the act of like hitting record for the first time, having sound go into some kind of recording software, and then turning that into something. I would say that that's pretty damn formative for me. Blew my mind.
Sounds like it.
Yeah,
I mean, the way, like the tone in which you're speaking, like it certainly sounds like this was. I mean, I'm glad we got there because the segue was towards like how music became introduced into or how it was introduced into your life.
100%.
So, like, this is how, and like this sounds like it was one of the most formative, if not the most formative parts of your childhood.
Well, what's interesting is that it wasn't, you say it was how music was introduced into your life, and I don't know what you meant by that, but like music was already a huge part of my life. I started classical piano lessons when I was 6, viola with like private lessons when I was 8, then drums. I was like singing at the time. I'm not as good of a singer anymore, although ironically on my latest track I sing, but anyway, that's a new thing. yeah, like music was a big part of my life, but it was very like in the classroom, in the private lesson, practicing scales and arpeggios and these kinds of like classically trained things. This was like a whole other side of music that was like, oh, music can make you feel, and it can kind of bring your mind in these unfamiliar and mystical directions and whatnot. And in that sense, the world of music was blown open to me during those years because it was more rigid for me.
Sure.
Then it became something else.
Yeah. So great. Then like you started at 6.
That was my first like
why
formal.
was it so like rigid? Like why did you start then?
Well, when I say rigid, I don't even necessarily mean like I was being whipped into being a good piano player. I just mean like as beautiful as it is, and I'm actually getting back into it. I recently like bought an upright piano and I've been trying to play more and stuff. But just learning classical music, the technique, the kind of exercises, it's very kind of it's more procedural, and there is feeling to it, but to learn it, it's more rigid. You know what I mean? But yeah, I guess to
So
talk
then
more
what
about
drew you to music then?
yeah, at that age.
Yeah, at that age.
So it wasn't. I don't know if I was showing any musical propensity, but the main reason that my sister started playing piano was because there is a piano in my family that's like you could call it a family heirloom. And even though I don't have the piano in my house, it's currently living in the house that my sister just bought. It was in my childhood home. It was in my dad's place for a while, and now it's in my sister's house that she just bought. Or I don't know if it's arrived yet, but I still have. My dad found the original receipt from like 1930 something.
Yeah, it was like $708, something like that.
It was.
I saw the receipt.
Oh, you did?
It's on Instagram.
Good research. Yeah, it was something like $1,000, but
Yeah.
at the time would have been like $20,000 or something.
Yeah.
And it has like my great grandpa's name on it. The shop in I think Bayonne, New Jersey, where it was bought.
Bayonne.
Yep, that's where my dad grew up. Hudson County, I think, right across from the city. But yeah, so that I framed that, and I have that because it's so important to my family and like my musical. I mean, I wouldn't be musical in the way that I am if that piano didn't exist or was bought in 1930, whatever. I forget the year, but anyway, that piano kind of came into our immediate family from my grandparents or whatever, and my sister, they're like, well, we got to play it. So my parents are not musical. My dad is, I would say, other than liking music and going to concerts, he's not musical. My mom maybe has a little bit more, she's done some, but like really would not consider even herself a musician at all. And so to them, it was kind of foreign. They couldn't read music or anything, but the piano came into our family. And so they were like, all right, let's get, Julia, my sister, like some piano lessons. And then so she started. And then kind of when I hit the same age that she started, I got into it because it was like, we have this piano, the kids should play it. That was really what it was. And I'm so thankful. Like I'm very thankful that my parents did that for us, because I mean, it changed. It is my life now. And I don't think that I would have gone on this trajectory without that whole series of events. So it's a really cool story, I would say.
Oh, that's really interesting. I find it really interesting that your parents like really don't have a musical background, and they're just like, we should just like we should push our kids. Maybe push is too strong of a word, but like
It wasn't quite
influence
push,
our
yeah,
kids
yeah.
into playing and picking it up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my understanding of how it went. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing.
And so really from, 6 or so to 7th grade, you use the word rigid. Maybe it's not the best word, but
just relatively speaking,
you were doing it like the part of you must have enjoyed making or playing music, right?
yeah.
Or no, was there another reason you were involved?
It's hard to like the way you think as a kid's so different, I think, from how you think as an adult in terms of how you pursue things. So it's so hard to like it's hard to imagine exactly what I was going through. But what it was I think, did I love practicing all the time? No. In fact, I think I struggled to like practice consistently. And like, it was always like, oh shit, my weekly lesson is tomorrow. Like I better like practice for 2 hours to like not look like I haven't been practicing. It felt like a little bit like that for a while. But there was a curiosity that drove me to be like, oh, like it's string instrument year in elementary school. All right, I'm going to pick viola. And then it's like, okay, now it's like concert band year, like, oh, percussion. Like there was this thing and that was like, I just want to like try new things, try new things, try new things. That's definitely a personality trait of mine, like a curiosity and an interest in experimenting, trying new things and whatnot. And I think that was what was driving me more than like, I'm so passionate about this as a little child that I'm like practicing 2 hours a day every day. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
And so 7th grade, your relationship to music changes completely.
I would say so. I think that, yeah, I honestly feel like I could almost boil it down to like that, popping that CD into the stereo.
Yeah. You mentioned, oh, you could feel music. Like you now understood like, oh, music can make me feel. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever music anyone is into, and I'm sure most of the people listening to this are into electronic music, festival scene, raves, what have you. Whether you're under the influence or not, and often not even, there are just moments at shows where you just go to a place and it's very hard to describe with words, but it just feels so different from regular reality, and it feels like connective, and it feels almost like, I mean, I'm not religious, but it and I don't even want to necessarily put it in like such a framework, but it feels like you're connecting to something beyond you, not in any sort of like very direct way, but just it's like, I don't know, this is beyond me. And just that thought of like, wow, I can't even really like this whole space that I'm in now while listening to this, I don't even know, I can't even put my finger on it. It's so different and so like, what is this? And I don't know if I'm doing a good job of explaining it, but I think the whole point I'm trying to make is that it's hard to explain that feeling.
Sure.
That different music can make you feel. And so I think just, as a young developing mind, getting towards teenage years and whatever, I'm starting to realize that, hey, there's more to my consciousness than I realized. At the time, I don't think I was seeing it that way. But upon reflection right now, it's like, whoa, like I'm not just this thing that just like goes to school and gets good grades and, is obedient most of the time and, does activities and goes to sleep over. You know what I mean? Like there's more to what's going on in here.
Yeah, totally.
Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I think by nature, it's kind of hard to describe feeling, right? The whole point of
It is.
feeling is like it's in some cases like indescribable because you feel it, and putting words to it is reductionist in a way.
That being said, the practice of trying to put names to feelings has been extremely productive for me. So much so that the song I just put out is called Learning to Feel, and it's literally about that. About seeing the world through emotions and being able to label them.
Oh, well, I'm going to put a pin in that because that'll be fun to get to later.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
I just.
No. I think it's great. Like it's all related.
Totally. But yeah, no, I think there are feelings you can identify. I'm sad, I'm angry, these kinds of things. But the coolest thing is when you feel something that feels like it doesn't have a description to it. And for me, that's what music does. I can't describe the emotion that Drift Away by Pretty Lights. I'm into Pretty Lights if people didn't know, but I can't describe the feeling that gives me when I just close my eyes and listen to that. I mean, yes, I'm happy, but it's like, where am I and what is that? And I love that. I love that I'm feeling things that don't exist in the normal vernacular. It's like you're kind of experimenting with the concept of feelings in general when you're listening to music that moves you or making music that makes you, feel these things that are beyond you. I don't know. It's getting heady, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, the way you're describing it to me sounds like, music touches you in a very profound way. Like to
Big
put
time.
it in a sentence, right?
Of course, yeah.
We could like kind of split hairs and how to like describe it best,
Totally.
but like that's like kind of the summation.
I would 100% agree with that statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the main reasons that you're a producer yourself.
100%.
So you start touring with this in 7th grade.
Did I start touring? Is that what
no toying?
Oh,
toying with
I was
music,
like, I wasn't touring
playing.
in 7th grade. Yes, I start toying with the concept of recording music
Yeah.
and making music my own.
Yeah.
It was up and down. I wouldn't say that I was like, oh, from 7th grade, I'm like, producing and becoming this like whiz at producing and on the OG message boards to learn. Like, it wasn't quite like that, but it was my first introduction to that. It wasn't, I guess, along that track. Like, it wasn't until more like, let's say, junior year or something of high school that then like GarageBand is very accessible. I start to accumulate, like I have a microphone which it lasted me like until very recently, which is funny. I was using it for stuff still. Basic recording setup. I went to Sam Ash in New Jersey, which is like a Guitar Center type of place, and accumulating like a little bits and pieces through birthday gifts, like a little MIDI keyboard and stuff. And so yeah, it's like I'm starting to play around with this stuff as a hobby. In my most fun memories of producing as a teenager was like I had some very odd and creative friends in my life who were just down to be weird and write lyrics that were obscene, but not necessarily just an inappropriate way, like that just didn't make sense and were funny. And they were down to be creative. It was cool to be around kids who were like, let's make stuff. And so I fell into the role of producer in that situation. I'm the guy who could record it. I'm the guy who could make the beat in GarageBand, and we made some very, very stupid songs. And that kind of led me even more into that world.
Yeah. What can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by more into that world?
Well, it's like, okay, now I'm in GarageBand and what's a VST? Like, what's a plugin? How do I, like, what are the components of a song that make it a song? Okay, there's a drum loop. I guess I was probably using loops at the time in GarageBand. There's a synth, there's a piano, there's recording vocals. It's like, it all starts to come into play, and I think the first, like, serious thing I did, that I can remember was, in other words, not just producing like really bad rap songs with a bunch of like suburban white kids rapping about dumb shit, was a cover of Electric Feel. I wish somebody has it. It might be on a hard drive somewhere, like, but it was pretty good. I recorded like a cover of Electric Feel by MGMT with like kind of like synths that were in GarageBand and whatnot, and I sang and kind of like auto-tuned it. Cool. That was like the first thing I made where I was like, whoa, like I can put together something that then when I listen back I'm kind of proud of in some way. I was probably 16 or 17 or whatever. And then to keep going down that track of like getting into production.
Yeah, well let me ask a question.
Slow me down.
No, it's so fine. So at this point, like, music didn't really feel like a calling to you?
Oh, like I didn't quite, right. Like you're asking at
like,
that point,
was there a
like,
shift
I'm
or
going
like,
into music?
Yeah, like
no. See, that's the thing about, and this is a whole thing we could get into, but my identity was so tied to achievement, college. At that point, I probably knew I was going to be doing engineering. So getting into a good engineering school, what's that going to lead to? What job? Whatever. My identity was still very much like, yeah, music's fun and it's I'm having a good time, but like, that's not what's important, really. And to even go and like study music or production, no way. Had I had the level of awareness, which I forgive myself, I was a kid, but like, or if somebody in my life had really like seen the way that I light up. I mean, everyone knew I was into music. It was like everyone around me was like, Steven does music. It was a known thing, but really like that real passion for creating and producing, like I think if somebody had noticed and mentored me into it, it's possible I could have taken a very different track. But still, my identity was like, I'm on this track and this is just, I don't have to push this to the side, but this is on the side, basically.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It almost sounds, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but sounds like in a way you might have been misunderstood, because you said if only someone would have noticed how music lit me up. Like that's, I mean, it sounds, from what I'm understanding, maybe nothing else lit you up in the same way. And it's kind of almost in my head, it's a shame that no one saw that.
Yeah, I think you could look at it that way. I think that there was a lot going on you know, there was a lot going on in my life that was consuming energy and was consuming energy for my parents and a lot of people in my circle. And so, yeah, some of that kind of stuff fell to the wayside, I would say, in terms of like really cluing into who I am and what I really want, you know? But the thing is it's not, this is also stuff I had internalized for whatever reason. Like I was convincing myself. It's not like I was there like, oh man, like I would really like to study music production or something. And like, no one's supporting me on this. Maybe deep down inside, there was a little bit of that, but there was no level of awareness of that for me.
Sure.
For me, it was really like, oh, that's not even a thing that you do.
Right, well, at that point, you're a product of your conditioning. You know, you're in middle school, high school.
Totally.
Like, I would say very few people have the self-awareness to be in that.
Totally.
To reflect
I know.
on that.
100%. And I mean, like, once again, my surroundings, what was modeled to me in my life,
right?
Who I was in classes with. I mean, it was like, this was my track. I was on this track. And the thing is like, for most people in my life, it's like, that looks like a pretty good track. Like, he's going to a good college, he's studying engineering. Like, this is good. You know, that's like what society wants of you. You know what I mean? But here's the thing.
Oh, I know what you mean.
But here's the thing. I don't regret any of it.
Sure.
I don't feel like, oh man, I wish that like I had met some cool producer uncle that like, you know, like was like, hey man, you should really like, you know, tune in and drop out and do production. I actually don't think that was my path.
Yeah.
I like my path.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I grew up, even though the pressure and the anxiety I can do without, I'm glad that I was pushed into this because I love science. I love engineering. I mean, it wasn't always this way, but my current day job, I really love. And I'm so glad that my schooling and my every direction that I was pushed led me to this point. I also think that the way I approach music and music production is with a very organized and engineering mind, which isn't always useful, but in certain aspects of it is very useful. So I like who I became, and I like that I didn't just go study music. I don't think that would have been the right path for me. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And by no way do I want to like demonize or say that your path was wrong. No, absolutely not.
Totally.
Just
just important for me to acknowledge it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
The reason like I can relate to, the reason why I think this is interesting is because I can relate to this entirely.
How so?
Well, this was my entire life.
Totally.
Like I was conditioned very similar to you of what success looked like by friends, family, society. It's like, you're going to get good grades, you're going to go to college, you're going to get a good job, white picket fence, family, blah, blah, blah. Right. And that's not to blame a single person or people. It's just like product of the system.
100%.
And so, yeah, I mean, again, I'm not saying there's any regret in your mind. I just think it's fascinating because I experienced the same thing.
That's interesting.
And yeah, like you would have had a very different life path if you just pursued the things that solely lit you up and weren't a product of conditioning to make you think otherwise.
Yeah, and I don't know where that path would have led me. And life's not perfect, but all in all, I've landed in a pretty good situation. So, you know, that's why it's important it's important to reflect on the past, but not like try to change it or reimagine it in any way.
Sure.
Yeah.
So then it sounds like music was kind of like very much a side project or a part of you that was behind the career focused part of you.
I think so. And I mean, it's funny because all the signs are like, if I'd really tuned in, if I'd been able to tune in, I would have been like, hey, this music thing is a pretty big part of my life, huh? And yes, I knew that like on paper, the amount of hours I'm spending and things I'm doing, it's a big part of my life. But there's that extra just little shift that I never made, which is like, hey, like you love music. It took me a little bit longer, not much longer, but it took me a little bit longer out of high school to come to that.
Yeah. Can we go there?
Of course.
Yeah.
So, you know, nothing is like, while there are certain formative things, like there is a bit of a continuum here of this transition, right? Things happen gradually. And so let's talk about electronic music. In high school, mid-high school was when artists like Deadmau5, like one of his first big albums came out. Ghosts and Stuff was like a radio hit or, you know, some kind of a Billboard hit in, I don't know, junior year of high school or something like that. Daft Punk's Discovery had come out a few years earlier, but they were in 2007, they were on their Alive tour, which is like the big tour with the pyramid that a lot of people like. It's a very like iconic thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were very much so in the zeitgeist. They had done this big Coachella show and whatever. And so like, my friends were showing me that, fell in love. Daft Punk is like, I mean, we could do a whole podcast on Daft Punk, but that was a huge part of my high school experience. Artists like Justice, who I finally saw for the first time a year ago, and that's like the best show I've ever been to. Justice was like, that was my shit. The main album with the cross on it that has Genesis, like everyone knows that track, or a lot of people do, but Justice. And then, I mean, yeah, those are the three artists during high school that like exposed me to electronic music, to dance music. Before I really knew about the party, before I really knew about what that culture and scene was like, but I was in on music, right? And then, of course, go to college, and this is 2010. So, I mean, there's a lot that happened going to college. I went from New Jersey to California, which was a whole cultural awakening. I'd been dealing with a lot in high school, at home and whatnot, and I was ready to be far away, and I was ready to like embrace almost a new identity. So I was like a sponge when I went out there. And there's certain things about being in the Bay Area, being in California, that were very, very transformative for me. But I think that honestly, had you been anywhere in college in the US, at least in 2010, because I came back from college, to my hometown and talked to everybody at different places around the country, like everyone was getting into EDM. That was the like, EDC was really starting to pop off as like a big festival. Q, Deadmau5, Avicii, Skrillex, I mean, Swedish House Mafia. I mean, so much stuff. Dubstep is starting to become more of an American bro steppy thing, which, the rest is history. The Flux Pavilions, the Dr. P's. I mean, I could go on and on and on in so many directions. Madeon, Porter Robinson. Anyway, I'll stop myself. But the way I'm talking about it was an explosion. It's like there's this whole thing.
Sure.
And around the whole country, this is when I think college kids were really all in on like festivals, EDM, whatever. It was a crazy time to be in college, honestly. It was cool. It felt like something was happening with music. And yeah, I mean, I was sold. I went to my first like rave. It was at the Fox Theater in Oakland. I call it a rave. I mean, people in the 90s would laugh at me. It was like a commercial show, but it was Rusco at the Fox in Oakland, California, and amazing. Shortly after, I went to a Porter Robinson, like a pre-Worlds Porter Robinson. He was doing like house and dubstep and stuff. And then we went to Identity Festival, Shoreline Amphitheater, Mountain View. That was my first Pretty Light show. Cascade played, Flux Pavilion, Dr. P back to back. There was a lot of really awesome sets that were sick at the time. Anyway, I'm going on and on. The point is that that was it. And that showed me what really music and electronic music could be once you're in there. There's the community aspect. There's the interconnectedness of it all. And in
college.
Yeah, this was in college.
Got it.
Yeah. The shared experience of it all. And it just lit me up. I mean, I think, I was, once again, I was coming from a period of I was coming from my high school years, which, while I have plenty of good memories, were really hard for me, despite my attempts to normalize it and compartmentalize it and all that. And that excitement and that version of music and that community just really gave me a home and just made me feel like there was other sources of love and happiness in the world that I could bring in. And it was 100% through that initial kind of like exposure to EDM festival, that type of festival culture and whatnot.
Yeah. I hate to say the word profound, but again, this sounds profound.
Of course.
It's like you're feeling things for the first time in a while, maybe ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you find community, you find something you love, you're surrounded by people that have similar interests or similar loves.
And also, like, I'd never experienced before this concept of unconditional love towards strangers ever. I think there's some of it in society normally. There's some. If you can find community, if you try or you go to a place where it exists. But I really had never been exposed to that, of like people just being nice to each other for the sake of it. People like giving each other like the whole like rave trinkets. I mean, you know that better than anybody, right? That whole thing, I was like, whoa, like this is giving and love and connecting with strangers for no other reason other than it makes everybody happy and connected.
Yeah.
There's no other motivation. There was no money being exchanged. There was no ulterior motives. It was purely for sharing love with people around you.
Was there a distinct moment where you had this realization at a show?
No.
Okay.
Actually, sort of. I mean, I would say I've been reflecting on it a lot recently. And I've been really realizing like I actually have put some thought into like, why did I connect so much with this? And I think it's because I found such a source of love there. And I've been thinking about that a lot. There was definitely, there was a moment that I always think about at Identity Festival in 2011 where I was with, it was like a big group. There was like some of my immediate college friends, like a fraternity brother and like his whole crew and his girlfriend and her friends and stuff. And like, there was this sort of like, it's so silly, but when you're in that moment, you understand like the sort of like, hey, do you need water? Like strangers going up to each other in the group, like, hey, what do you need? Are you too hot? Like, can I help you with anything? I'm going to go get some water. Do you want me to fill it up? You look like you need this. You look like you need that. That little like people caring, it sounds minimal if you haven't been in that space, but like that feeling of people taking care of each other was very fulfilling. It was very like warm. You know what I mean? So I remember that. I do remember that experience in particular. I think it might have been at Cascade at that festival. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I very much have my own instance of this. I always say that I was a late bloomer. I got into the scene later than probably your average. I was well out of college. Anyway, I went to EDC Las Vegas by myself, and I was like adopted by like a random group of people.
Yeah, that happens.
And they were just like making sure I had a perfect night. I was just like,
so
why?
Sick.
You know, like
I'm just
a stranger, you know, and here they are going out of their way to like, oh, do you need water? Do you need gum? Oh, by the way, like put these rave goggles on.
Yeah, you know, the show's gonna look way sicker.
Take the pashmina, like you're gonna want it, like all these things, and it's just like, wow, like strangers could care about me for no reason, just because I'm a human and I'm with them in the moment.
It can't be stated. That's awesome. I'm glad so many people have that experience, right? Yeah. It can't be stated enough how much there's no reason why people are helping each other out in that environment other than like we're all human and we all want each other to have a great time, but that doesn't translate into society always. I do think that all of us who participate in that hopefully bring it into regular life, and I see you doing it. I mean, you're bringing a whole vibe into the community, but it's hard to understand unless you've experienced it. It's beautiful.
That's why I'm taking strangers to raves.
Hell yeah, I know. That's so sick. Anyway, so I mean, that I do think that yes, the music was amazing. Yes, I was like on a nerdy and a musical level connecting with that and the lights, and I was like, the way it's put together is so cool. But I do think that like without that sense of love and community that I experienced, and it felt so foreign to me, like the idea of this. Anyway, I don't think I would have felt connected to this music had it not been for that element of it. It couldn't have been just me going to a show alone and experiencing that. It had to be the whole picture. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
So you fall in love because you're feeling these beautiful things that you haven't felt ever.
Pretty much, yeah.
And is that kind of the motivating force to like actually take music seriously?
I think so. I think to some extent. I think on the surface it was like, this is cool. I want to do this. Like I want to be able to make these sounds and things that my favorite producers are doing. I want to be able to like be in front of people with the lights around. You know, there's definitely that more topical motivating factor that's valid. You know what I mean? Like just I want to make cool music. But yeah, for sure. I think I really just, in retrospect, I wanted to be a part of it in a real way. And I'm sure that's why a lot of people follow this path to some extent. after that festival in particular, I had already, once again, everything is a continuum. I already had my DJ controller. I was already starting to like DJ frat parties and things like that, and trying to get like really shitty gigs around the Bay Area where like I had to like pay basically to play them, like the worst, like just, and I was just playing like generic EDM. I mean, looking back on it, it was like ridiculous, but maybe it was an important stepping stone. Who knows? In any case, I came back that night after that festival, and I remember like just DJing songs I'd heard at the festival until, I don't know, 3 a.m. or something like that, and just being so fired up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all
no.
feeling very
And how
real,
does
yeah.
that momentum carry? Because at this point, are you producing?
I think I was a little bit and starting to figure that out. I think it all kind of overlaps, but yeah, I think that carries into like me. There was like this series of like 10 songs I tried to make in some earlier version of Ableton that were sort of, I was trying all the styles. It was like a progressive house song and like a big room house, and like they were so bad. I mean, like a dubstep song, I suppose. Just could not figure it out. Showing it to my friends, like one of my good friends who really loves what I do and like thinks I'm pretty good now, but he was like, yeah, man, like those first things you showed me, we were like, yeah, man, like cool, like it's cool that you're doing that, but like, yeah, keep going, Anyway, the point is that what it turned into is me making a lot of shitty music for a while, which is good. You should make shitty music. You should try to make terrible fucking music for as long as possible, because it will lead to good things. That's so important. And then I don't know exactly what clicked, but something about, and I was telling you about this earlier and you seemed less familiar, but the genre of Moombahton. So if anyone was around in the scene in like 2012, they might be familiar with a genre that is music at about 110 BPM. It has something called a dembo beat in it, which is in like reggaeton, dung, 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 dung. It's that, except much more electronic, lots of laser noises, lots of kind of aggressive like sound design. And there was a whole scene of kind of underground Moombahton artists, but then like people like Dylan Francis were making it more like main stage music. Mm-hmm. So it had a moment and it just captured me. I don't know why, but I was like, this is it. This is what I'm doing. It's Moombahton. It's different from what other people doing. I'm obsessed. And so I started to figure that out. I produced a bunch of songs in that genre. It was like my whole identity at the time. I was calling myself Kaptain. And I came out with some music. I would like go to Moombahton shows. I spent a summer in New York, and there were some shows that came through, and I would like show up with a USB and like hop on stage after the show and like run up to one of my favorite producers, Munchie, and just like hand him a USB. And like I was like in it. I was trying to like figure it out. This was like, I'm kind of fast forwarding, but this was the summer between like sophomore and junior year.
Okay,
and
so still in college.
Still in college. I was like at home and doing an internship in New York, and every night I would like work on music. I made this like Sub Focus bootleg remix thing, and it like took off on Hype Machine, which was like a blog aggregator like ranking thing where you could like upvote. It was kind of like an early Reddit just for music. Mm-hmm. And that got to like the top 25, and this was like a huge aggregator, and so I think I got like 25,000 streams on that song. Wow. And this was like crazy, Yeah, I was like, what the hell? And that moment,
you probably thought you made it.
Kind of, yeah. But it kind of like, it like got me more. Blogs were the thing at the time, so like you email blogs, you kind of pitch blogs, and I would just send out like 100. Every time I made a song, I'd send out like 100 emails manually. Nowadays, I would automate the shit out of that with Claude, but different times. Also, people don't read blogs anymore. In any case, that was like my whole thing, was like making music mostly in that genre, sending it to blogs, trying to get like on these like blog aggregators, get streams on SoundCloud. That was my whole MO, man. And when that one took off and got a bunch of streams, it kind of gave me the confidence of like, oh, this is possible. Like I can make a thing, people can like it, and they can give me positive feedback, and it can accumulate streams. Which I the whole numbers thing is a whole thing. Like, do numbers matter? What does having a lot of streams make you an artist? It doesn't, but it makes it feel like something you can actually pursue and build upon. So that moment gave me a ton of confidence. So yeah, I mean that kind of the Moombahton era of Kaptan lasted a few years, probably close till the end of college.
Well, the Moombahton Kaptain is no longer a thing.
No
and
fucking way.
You graduated college and
Yeah.
you didn't go into music full time.
I did not.
So what happened?
Yeah, I mean, man. So during college, I hadn't like
Because like that sounds like, sorry to cut you off. That sounds like you were feeling really good.
Yeah, but
And,
once
like-
again, I was still on, like, even though college had completely blown my mind open, I had transformative experiences with music and otherwise. I embedded in this whole new culture. I was in the festival scene. Like, I was a new version of myself by the end of college in a like an extreme way and a good way. I liked who I was. And still, it was like, yeah, but, you know, it all comes back to, I got to do my career, and these are the expectations I'm putting on myself. These are the expectations of me. You know, I think there is a certain thing where it's like, well, I studied engineering and I can get an engineering job, and that makes me decent money, and like that seems like a good path. Like almost like just functionally. But I didn't even think like, I mean, there are some regrets I have. Like, I didn't even, if I had asked my parents, like, hey, can I just have a little bit of money and travel in Europe on a shoestring budget for a few months before I start work, I bet you they would have been down. But I kept telling myself I have to, like, despite all of the changes in my consciousness that had happened, I still was like, nah, I got to apply for a job immediately. And I think part of the reason was because I was searching for certainty in my life still. Like, if I could have an achievement or a job or this, like, that level of certainty would give me the stability that I thought I needed. And the idea of any sort of uncertainty about the future was so scary to me. It's still scary, but it was particularly scary then.
Yeah, where do you think that fear came from?
Well, it didn't come from trying to find certainty is a bad antidote for anxiety. Embracing uncertainty and knowing that nothing is certain, and that if you're just with yourself and present, like you can be okay. You don't have to worry too much about what's coming next. That was very foreign to me. Still is something that I'm practicing, but it's much more familiar. But I think it's just a product of me not feeling stable, me not feeling securely attached with myself, that I'm okay no matter what. If I don't have a job for a couple months, not only am I not going to, you know, fortunately I wasn't going to end up in a tough spot because I had support if I needed it, but like I was going to be okay, like, you know, and just, you know, I still struggle with that, but it's, yeah.
I'm curious, like, do you think that's kind of why you were drawn to like STEM? Because there's a certainty in science with like laws of physics and things like this?
Dude, you've absolutely nailed it. Yeah. That stuff is beautiful, and I love physics so much. What I wasn't, and yes, there's always an answer. There's always a proof.
Right.
There's always a correct answer. You can solve that equation and get the right answer.
Right.
Of course, that was a huge attraction. Luckily, I've also embraced like the true beauty in science and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's cool, you know. But yes, you're 100% right. It worked with my brain that was searching for certainty. And something I've learned is that, and you know, through therapy and whatnot, is that like it's okay that I have that part of me.
Sure.
But use it where it applies. My therapist always says, you're a smart guy. You're really good at solving problems with logic and you know, information and whatnot. Use that at work, or when you're doing your finances for your family or something like that. Don't use it when you're trying to figure out why you feel like empty inside, you know? That's not going to cut it. So anyway, that kind of took it on a tangent there, but it's interesting that you say that, because that tendency of mine to think in terms of black and white and solutions, I've had to unlearn. And once again, I keep bringing it back to the song I just wrote and the EP that I put out. For me, it was about learning to feel, and for the first thing that I do in a situation, not always be, hey, how do I solve the equation? How do I deduce this thing or whatever? Sure. So anyway, I don't know what you asked, honestly.
No. Well, but there's a known, right? There's a black and white,
Totally.
a right and wrong,
Totally.
a yes and no, and it doesn't apply to your therapist's point. Like, that logic, I don't think really applies to something that's creative, because it isn't black and white. It's a spectrum, and there is no right or wrong. Like, how many famous people have said there are no rules with art, or like if there are rules,
100%.
break them, right?
Now, when you're mixing down a song and you have to identify those problem frequencies and like use your device as an Ableton, like it helps to be an engineer in that moment.
Sure.
But to truly create the concept for music, for sure, like logic isn't going to help you there. In fact, overthinking it is always the worst thing you could possibly do, in my opinion. It's very common, but yeah, the less you think when you're creating, usually the better.
Yeah.
But yeah, also like, just solving my own internal battles. I think, something else my therapist says is, this isn't a problem for you to solve. This is just a feeling for you to sit with. When I first started to wrap my head around that, I was like, what is she talking about? It was so foreign to me, but now I'm coming around.
Well, of course it's foreign to you.
Yeah.
Because like you're trying to like think about it, and she's telling you explicitly not to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, and then I'm trying to, and then I'll even like apply logic to try to understand the feeling side. She's like, no, you're still missing the point, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good tangent.
Yeah. I don't know how we got there, but
it's okay. It doesn't matter.
Cool.
So you get a job,
Yeah.
we graduate college. You don't go, that's how we got there.
No.
It's like, no, you were still like very much pursuing the known.
Yeah. But also to be fair, like even though right at the end of college, I'd sort of started to crack the very beginnings of what the sound I wanted to pursue was, which by the way, not Moombahton. We archived all those on SoundCloud. We moved on. But there wasn't really anything there, like I didn't have a tour offer. I wasn't getting stream money. Like it honestly did in the moment feel like, yeah, like I should just keep this cooking on the side and see what happens. Then again, had I said, you know what, I love this. I want to go to production. I want to go to like a, Berklee College of Music or something like that for 2 years and really just change everything up. That could have been a path, but it wasn't. But yeah, my concept was, once again, like we talked about in high school, music's great. I love it, but let's just keep it cooking on the side.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for the next, what is it now? 12 years.
So, so are you not doing that anymore?
Am I?
Or like you're saying that's
what
what I did for the last
the
next 12 years, implying that there was a change.
What I'm trying to say is that I still have a day job. Happens to be one I really like now, and happens to be one that's in the music industry, thankfully. But I still work during the day and have to find opportunities outside of work to create and make music. There have been short periods, like I was between jobs one time and I actually like saved money and planned it out, where I had a few months off preparing for the next thing, and I wrote a whole EP, and that was a beautiful time that I wish I could get back. But for the most part, it's except for some exceptions and some sabbaticals, if you will, that here and there, it's been something that has been, as far as society is concerned, on the side. But that doesn't mean that it's all been the same throughout that time period.
Sure.
And tell me if we're fast forwarding.
No. Well, yes, we are fast forwarding, and I do want to cover, like 12 years is a long time, so I do want to cover that. So like, yeah, like you were just about to say, well, that doesn't mean it's all been the same. So what was it when it first started?
Like, let's say like the music project when I was first out of college, for example.
Yeah. First couple years.
It was a huge passion of mine. It was the thing I wanted to spend all of my time doing. And immediately when I started my first job, I was like, I can't believe that I have to come in and do this every day and not make music. I also was...
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like that, it sounds so clear to you.
But what was my path?
And yet,
yeah,
you didn't just take a leap and do that.
I was too scared. I wanted certainty. I thought that I had expectations of myself. I thought that there were expectations of me. I thought, hey, I did this big engineering education at a good school. Like, this is my path. And once again, like I know that I just said, I can't believe I have to come in every day and do this. There's still a part of me, and still today, that loves engineering and science, and I love that I get to do it. But it's more like music just always felt more real.
Sure.
Whereas the engineering stuff was in the capacity of like what society expected of me. Anyway, it becomes political at a certain point, but you know what I mean? Like sort of these confines that I was supposed to live within. And that felt artificial, especially coming out of college where I was particularly countercultural, a little less capitalist and all that kind of stuff.
Yet going into a capitalist society and
It
getting
felt
a
terrible.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a like effectively a stoner at the University of California, Berkeley, and then having to get a job is a jarring transition. Anyway, I was okay in school while I was in college and everything. I cared, but yeah, at the time my psyche was not aligned with joining the corporate world. That's for sure. Yeah. I felt kind of wrong or dirty or something. And yet I was doing it. But like it's like it all fits, right? Because I love the career path that I've been on, even though I wish I could do music full time. It's a weird thing, and it also having that career path allowed me to live in San Francisco for 5 years and experience that and write music in the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood and like go to all the shows that were coming through and do cool things with my friends there. It all belongs, it's maybe, I could have been pushed at that point into music full time. Maybe that could have been identified, and yet it's all good.
Was there early traction? Like where you were even considering going into music full time?
Yes and no. Fits in spurts, I would say. There were moments where it felt like I was onto something, moments where it felt like less so. But I'd say like it wasn't until maybe like just after COVID that I really felt like, hey, I'm an artist in the scene and I play shows and people listen to my music and that kind of stuff. It took a long time for me to really feel like I had any, I was established for real in any way. Of course, it coincides with me like moving to Denver and like getting a manager at the time and like being more part of an ecosystem and networking with my heroes and all that kind of stuff. But no, at the time,
let's go there.
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say at the time, I felt kind of distant from that. I was sort of making Denver-y music and I lived in California and I felt like, oh God, there's that whole scene out there. Like people, I kind of know people and like people are kind of engaging with my music, but like I didn't really feel a part of it. I didn't feel like a sense of belonging. I felt like I was still figuring it out. Some of my songs were taking off. I was getting a couple of gigs here and there, doing ridiculous things to play in different places. Let me just do an aside here. I got asked to play one of the bus stages at Electric Forest in the campground.
I saw that.
One of the Renegades.
Whose bus was that?
It was called Panky Rang at the time.
So it wasn't Jenga's bus.
No.
That would have been wild.
No. This was way before Jenga. I think even was really doing it, but or I don't know when he started making music, but it was like one of those Renegade stages at Electric Forest. I did not have a ticket to the festival. I wasn't booked officially on the festival. The campground stages are sanctioned. It's cool, or at least at the time they were. And they get like a big audience. It was cool, and they have production and stuff. But I flew to Grand Junction. I rented a car on like a very early primitive version of Turo. It was like there was like 2 cars available in. Did I just say Grand Junction? I meant Grand Rapids. Sorry, Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I drove an hour and a half north to Rothbury. I pulled up to the gate. One of the guys who put on the bus, this was like in the middle of the night, so I like flew out in the middle of the night. One of the guys pulled out or ran out, had a wristband that was loose on a friend's wrist, put it on my wrist, got in the car. I was coming into a festival campground with a completely empty car, and they like searched my car, and it's just like, why does this guy have an empty car? But they let me in. I went and played the stage, which was amazing. It was really cool. It was like right after the last set at in the main festival. I slept on the floor of a tent with no sleeping bag, no anything of a friend that happened to be there. I woke up like in a haze, got a burrito at the food thing, like whatever the food area outside of the festival was at Electric Forest in the campgrounds. I drove out and I got on a flight early in the morning.
Wow.
Anyway, that's an example of the types of things that you do when you're wanting to just play any possible gig you can play. And I was home in like less than 24 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was doing some stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it still didn't feel like, and there was some traction here and there, but it still didn't feel like a career path. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so what changed?
What do you mean?
Like you eventually moved to Denver and you said you started to feel more like an artist.
Oh,
like
yeah.
You were hustling, grinding, doing anything to get a show and living in San Francisco.
Oh, like what changed between then and where I am now, basically?
maybe not where you are now, but you said like right after, either during or right after COVID.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
when
yeah.
things changed drastically.
Yeah, so at a certain point, my wife, then girlfriend, who had grown up in the Bay Area, went to college in San Francisco, lived in San Francisco, like had never really left, was like, hey, you moved from New Jersey to California and had like a transformative experience. I basically want one of those. And we had a few options. I think it was like Boston, Austin, Denver. And I had been like since college, and mostly because I was seeing the types of lineups and the scene out in Colorado. I was like, when Grizz was popping off, when he moved to Boulder, and like the types of crazy festival lineups of all those artists that I loved, I was like, Colorado is it, man. I mean, you just saw it. It was like, it still is. I mean, it's even bigger at this point in terms of what it is for the music scene. But like at the time, especially if you were into like the kind of Pretty Lights, Grizz, Big Gigantic, Grammatic, these types of artists, it was where it was at. And so because of that, and because of like being into skiing, of course, I mean, it's like, how many times have you heard this story, but like from everyone who moves to Denver, but like, I was like, that's where I would move if I left California. And so for me, it was obvious. I said, fine, we can leave. As much as I love San Francisco, I'm down, but like, it's gotta be Denver. And we visited, and the rest is history. We moved there in 2019. COVID hit right after, and so I kind of started to get into the scene in 2019, and then I kind of had to reset. But then like, after COVID was like, I would say my kind of renaissance as an artist in the scene, and really meeting people. I think gaining respect from what I can tell from my peers and people in the scene, and playing a lot of shows. I had a manager at the time who was really plugged in and was really getting me hooked up. I was kind of in the Mammoth Music Group ecosystem, which is Pretty Lights Management, a bunch of other big artists, and that was just feeding me really, really cool opportunities. And yeah, I mean, it's like, that was so clutch. I mean, I became like the artist that I wanted to. I was a, not a huge name, but a name. And I mean, I am, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it like it's past tense, but yeah, moving to Denver, getting a few different stars aligned between meeting the right people and moving to Denver, that really gave me some sort of foundation to really feel like I am an artist. What I'm doing matters.
What does that feel like?
It feels very, especially after like making music for so long and being like, I don't know what this is going to lead to. I'm admiring all these artists, and I want to be in some way like close to them or whatever. It feels very affirming. I still, but and I think even like even artists probably headlining Red Rocks might even feel this way in a weird sense, because we're artists and we're the way that we are. But yeah, I still don't feel like I'm there.
Sure.
It's like I have some people who are into my music. I play really cool shows. I feel like I have some level of like recognition and respect, but I still feel like I'm nowhere. It's such an interesting thing. It's always like more and more and more. I think my wife observed this recently. She's like, you've gotten so far, but you just like, it's still never enough. And so while it is very affirming, and while I do feel very like satisfied that just the music I made in my bedroom has led to even the smallest following and some cool opportunities here and there, I still feel like I am in a way nowhere. It's strange.
Yeah. Well, so you moved to Denver in roughly like how long ago?
I moved in 2019. Like mid 2019.
Okay,
yeah.
so like
Yeah.
6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
7 years
Yeah.
ago. And post COVID, things were like clicking. You were feeling like an artist. So
yeah, I was like,
you had a manager.
I did.
You don't have a manager now, right?
I don't.
So it sounds like there's some bumps in the road.
Yeah,
there.
for sure, definitely.
Can you share about those?
Sure, to some extent, yeah.
Yeah.
So
because like, sorry, just to clarify, like it sounded like you were on a trajectory based on everything that you were sharing.
Yeah.
And then it sounds like the trajectory's changed. Still a trajectory, but potentially changed.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to like overstate it. Like, I'm still growing as an artist. I'm still like I'm still like on an upward trajectory.
Totally.
It's not like I like completely lost my whole sense of like progress and all that kind of stuff. And in fact, like I'm like really feeling good about, anyway, to take it back. But I definitely like lost a certain level of support about a year or 2 years or so ago, and had to kind of go back to some basics and go back to some a period where I was just managing myself, by myself. And so that's currently where I still am. I'm like completely independent. I manage myself. Right now I'm not putting as much effort into booking just because I just had the kid and it just flows that way better. But in general, if I get a gig, it's because more or less I've booked it myself, with some exceptions. So yeah, there was that change for sure.
Yeah, that must have been challenging.
Yeah, it was super hard.
Yeah, how so?
Well, I mean, for one, there's a lot you can do on your own, and I'm realizing that more and more. Like, you are the master of your own destiny or whatever. And if you put the effort in as an artist, especially these days where you're sort of expected to wear more hats, you can get a lot done. You can go out there and network. I'm here talking to you today because I made a connection on my own, not because some manager made this happen. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There's so much you can do, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of gatekeeping. If you look at a lineup, any lineup that gets booked, there's 4 artists on it or whatever. There's probably 12 artists that could be on that lineup. The reason why an artist ends up on that lineup isn't like we've ranked the music by which is the best music or our favorite music. And by the way, this isn't like a diss towards people getting booked because I get booked, but it's just like there's so many things that go into why you end up on a lineup or on a festival or on a thing. And most of it has to do with you have to have at a base at least be a good producer or performer, I think, most of the time, but the rest of it has to do with the human connection, and for lack of a better term, the gatekeeping. There is gatekeeping. That's how the entertainment industry across all forms of entertainment work. There are people who make decisions and allow people in, and there's a limited number of space. So what I felt like I lost was I had a little bit less, not completely, because I still have so many connections and people who are doing so many different cool things that show me support, but I lost sort of the support of like a gatekeeper, more or less. And that matters. It does. When you get locked into the right like booking agency or manager or whatever, that opens up a ton of opportunity for you. Even being friends with the right person at the right time, it matters. And that's not, I say that with no bitterness. It's all good. And it's great that the human connection matters. But when you don't have a gatekeeper fully pushing for you, it does make things a lot harder.
That must have been really challenging.
It is.
How did you cope with that change?
At first I pretended like I wasn't angry about that change, and I wasn't upset. And I tried to like normalize it for myself, which is like a theme, you know what I mean, in my life. I tried to pretend like it wasn't upsetting. It was upsetting though. I like think at first I was like, I don't know what to do, but what I realized is I had been putting a lot of stock in assuming that somebody every day was waking up and spending like a lot of time on what can I do to make, Kaptain grow and be big and all that kind of stuff. And whether that was true or not, it's not guaranteed. And so I think even though there was a lot I gained during that period of being with that management, a ton. I mean, I wouldn't be where I was today without it. And like, shout out, like, you know who you are. Like, thank you for everything. Seriously. I say that with no bitterness, but at the same time, it stunted me in a way because I stopped investing. I didn't put as much into networking, into getting out there, into forming my own connections and trying to do things for myself. And luckily it's okay. I still grew enough, but I realized how important those things are. And now I'm much more engaged in that part. And you can really move mountains for yourself because I'm the one who cares about myself the most. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I'm the one who's the most invested in my own success. And quite frankly, to not always have somebody like, when's the next release? How you doing with music? Blah, blah, blah. Especially with all the change that's been happening in my life recently, lost a job a couple years ago that I had to deal with that and had a kid. And, music can't be my like main focus right now, at least. Like I need that flexibility, and it's easier to have that flexibility with yourself than to have a lot of external expectations on you. Right.
Sure.
So that being said, it'd be great to have a team, but I'm still very open to that. But I've learned so much from having to kind of go back to more my roots of really being fully independent. And I've gained a lot of skills, like a ton of skills through it. So I've really made it a positive and come to terms with it to some extent. And I feel feel happy with where I'm at right now. I mean, I want so much more for the project, but I once again, like with my path, it's like, this is my path, whatever
Sure.
has happened. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you mentioned in an Instagram post, I think after you turned 30, like there were many times, or at least sometimes in that stretch, where you thought about like quitting or giving up the dream. Was this time with the management change also one of those times?
Possibly. Maybe not entirely though.
What do you mean?
Like, I think that level of like feeling like I'm giving up comes into play more like when I'm feeling particularly just like insecure, and feeling like the pressures of life are kind of like getting the best of me. And it's like, how can music be a part of this? And like thinking about things in terms of all or nothing. Like, I'm only an artist if I'm putting out a song every month. Or like, I'm only valid if I'm playing this many gigs. Or like, do people even like my music? Why am I even doing this? What's the point of all of this? It's the self-doubt and the insecurity and the setbacks. I mean, you hear a lot of no. Even the best artists or the most successful artists, I've heard a lot of no and rejection in their life. And eventually it kind of gets to you. I think those are more the time. I don't know if I explicitly, when I went from having a manager to not having a manager, if I said, I'm giving up. I don't think I
Sure.
necessarily had that moment.
Sure.
I definitely was lost. I had to recalibrate and figure out how I wanted to approach things. But surprisingly, I don't know if that was like the main point, one of the main nexus points of like, I should stop,
When was the closest you've gotten to giving up the project?
In retrospect, I don't know if I've ever been that close to actually like closing the book.
Sure.
But I think
But
that
closest.
that's a really good
You could
question.
still be far, but still
Sure.
closest.
Well, maybe let's talk about the process of being an artist and becoming a dad, because it never was like, oh, I gotta quit, but it was like, what is music gonna even look like after this? Am I even gonna care? Is it even important? Like, is my full identity just gonna be a dad, and music's gonna look like a silly hobby or something like that? That's when I've had a lot of doubt of like, can I even continue this?
So
also, like,
recently,
maybe, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
but it's less like, oh, I was seriously considering giving up. It's more like just like the maximum amount of uncertainty around the project of like, what is it going to look like? Can it continue and stuff? Also, like, I feel, honestly, to be vulnerable, I feel insecure about the fact that like, I can't just go off and tour for a few weeks. I literally can't do that right now. There's no way. And like, does that make me like less desirable to like a booking agent or a manager or something like that? That kind of stuff gets to me still. What does that all look like? At the end of the day, like, I know what's important in my life, and like, I will prioritize my family and everything, but yeah, I just like so much like uncertainty and self-doubt, and like, what does it mean to be an artist, and like, can I be an artist and a dad and all of that? It's definitely injected a lot of uncertainty into that. I will say there's been some resolution on that recently for me, but that kind of speaks to what you're talking about, I think.
So, I mean, can you elaborate on that?
Sure.
Because like, I'm very curious what a time of like a lot of self-doubt looks like for you. Like how you ultimately, like, what did that feel like, and how you ultimately got through it?
It manifests in like shame. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not cool enough. My music's not good enough. It's a lot of negative self-talk. So that's like what the feeling is about it. It's a lot of shame, self-shaming, I would say, which is not healthy, as it turns out, or not helpful.
Sure.
It's normal, but it's not helpful. I forgot the other part of that question.
Yeah, and like ultimately, because you're still producing, and you are a dad, and you didn't give it up, and so it's like, how does one get through that?
Yeah, sure. So I think, like, I'll be honest, like, even like years before I got married, I was like thinking about things in terms of this like dichotomy of like, this is the like straight and narrow Steven, and like, this is the like elusive kind of countercultural music producer version of me, and I created these separate worlds. The first step was realizing that I am one human being. I'm not just this is this complete version of me. This is this complete version of me. Trying to bring that all together has been really helpful. So like, and yet I still, as I approach, these more serious milestones in my life, becoming a dad, it's like, okay, I'm a dad, I'm a producer. Like, do those things even match? What I didn't really count on is that like who I am as a person, what I care about, and what moves me emotionally has nothing to do with where I'm at in life. And in fact, these milestones in my life only enhance and accentuate that part of me. Like, I did not anticipate that. Okay, so sure. So when you have a kid, like, you ought to really, in those first couple months, like, not count on doing anything other than focusing on that. And I'm so glad I did. I think I did a little bit of like accounting for the Kaptain project when I had some free time, but I was not writing music. The studio door was like closed for like a couple months during that first period. Then I started to ease back into it. I started to, the sleep started to kind of become more normal, although that's not the case right now. But in general, like, it started to feel more normal. And I was like, okay, I can like wake up early in the morning. I can put in these sessions. And like, what I didn't anticipate is that like life is a lot more colorful as you add these like beautiful things in. And sometimes a break, even if it's a break to take care of a newborn, like, is a really helpful thing. There have been so many times, like the couple years leading into, let's say, being a dad, where I would just sit down and have nothing and just be putting so much pressure on myself to like make something cool. And turns out like you could do that 10 times in a studio and get less done than 1-2 hour session where you're relaxed and inspired. It's not linear. The amount of hours you put in the studio has a lot more to, is not the most important thing. It matters, but what's more important is how you are bringing yourself to the studio. And so, as it turned out, after this big change in my life, I was actually bringing a more appreciative version of myself with more creative energy, taking things less for granted, and just so happy that I could make music. And that translated into the music I'm making right now, which is my best and my most free and creative and fun and well produced. And I don't know if does that tell the story?
Yeah, it does. I'm being reminded of, I think this might be a little like jagged, but it's okay.
Whatever.
I'm being reminded of a time, or your original dream. I think you took a picture of Red Rocks and you're like, it's my dream to play.
You found that. Wait, did I tell you about this, or did you find that?
No, I found it.
I love that. Wow, you're like a real like Nardwar. Do you know Nardwar?
Yeah, this is not the first time I've been called that.
Yeah.
So that was the dream back then. Is it still the dream?
To play Red Rocks?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's something that I've changed as a person so much since that picture was taken, and that goal has not changed one bit.
Yeah.
That was in 2014. That was when I was driving across the country with my friends. So I just finished college in California and I was starting work in California. I flew across the country to New Jersey and drove like my car basically to California to formally move into San Francisco. And yeah, we stopped in Colorado along the way, and I took that picture at Red Rocks, and I was like, I want to play here.
So here's the heavy hitter. Why do you think that hasn't happened yet?
That's a good question. I mean, it's interesting. Well, I'll say first, I think I'm closer than ever. Like, if you literally look at it from like a industry Denver gig ladder situation.
You're at Mission next
I'm playing at Mission Ballroom. When this
Right.
comes out, I will have played at Mission like a few days before. But yeah, I'm playing at Mission Ballroom.
That's your first time playing there.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I'm so excited for that. But, like when you think about the logical progression of gigs in Denver, like the only like real bigger venue that's promoted by AG is Red Rock. So like that's very within reach, right? If I keep pushing. And yet like it hasn't happened. And I think, I mean, I don't think it's like too valuable to probe that, but if we want to get into it, like as much as I try to comfort myself in like, hey, like life's good, you haven't been able to put as much time into music consistently as you want to. Like, I think if like I had a very different lifestyle and I put more hours into music like earlier on and like really pushed in, let's say 2021, 2020, maybe it would have happened sooner. I don't know. Then again, like that's so silly because it's like nothing is guaranteed. There's politics, there's ups and downs, it feels like almost like I don't know. It kind of feels like gross to kind of like probe it. Like, why hasn't it happened? Like, it feels almost like indulgent or something like that. I can't explain why.
Yeah, well, I was just curious on your thoughts. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of like
But
what
you
it.
did just say something.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
did just say like, oh, like, maybe I could have spent more time producing, or yeah. But I mean, the reality is like, you need to support yourself somehow.
Totally. Yeah, work has sometimes taken a front view, and even like I've had like a lot of like getting, I'm in tech, so it's like there's a lot of layoffs and stuff. Like in 20% of a company will be laid off, like regardless of who you are, and you're just like, okay, what do I do now? I've had a lot of like bumps in the road like that, where like I had to like get some kind of a job, and like every bump along the way, I'm like, what if I just like did something different and like got off this conveyor belt? But it's always been like, no, like it'd be a pretty good option to like get another job in this space. So sometimes I've had to like put my entire focus around that, and music's had to take a little bit of time off. I've also, I mean, like, I don't know if I'd, even though there's probably a good chance that if I had gone obsessively like many hours a day consistently into music, that things would have happened faster for me. The reason why I wasn't doing that wasn't often because I was just sitting around doing nothing. It was because I was on backpacking trips, skiing, traveling, going on adventures, exploring the country, exploring the world, spending quality time with my wife, who I love, making the time to visit friends around the country, going to festivals as a fan, not just a performer, it's so easy to get jaded as a producer in the music scene. Like the conversations that happen in green rooms are so like often distant from like the love and the passion that the fans have. And so I've lived a life where I'm constantly trying to like be human, and also like be that fan, be that kid who like went to his first Pretty Light show or like his first Grizz show and like lost his mind. Maybe this is all me trying to justify the fact that I haven't put in the time that I wanted into music. Who knows? But what I do know is that in the meantime, I've created like a beautiful life for myself, and I've had beautiful experiences, and I have great relationships. And so it's like, would I trade that? I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, and just to clarify, I'm not at all suggesting that you should have done that, or that your current path is incorrect.
Right, but what's happening is you're jostling something in me that probably feels a need to justify it. I know that you're not suggesting that.
Well, this is fun,
isn't
it?
You've hit a trigger point. Yeah.
No, but I mean, listen, like, to your point, you've learned so much about yourself and had all these beautiful experiences in life that have contributed to you as a human and like your growth, and it couldn't have happened any other way, essentially, right? Because you're here now 100%. With all these learnings and ups and downs and all that stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I think it's super relevant. Like, how many other people, artists and people, are have their side baby, and
their side baby.
Yeah, that's what I call it. Like side project, side hustle.
Yeah.
I call it side baby.
Yeah, totally.
Where it's like maybe they're thinking about devoting more time, or they can't, or maybe like they've been doing it for 10 years or whatever, 5 years, and then this is a question in their mind, and maybe like hearing your experience causes them to think in a different way. Who knows? That's why I think it's so valuable to explore these topics, even though they might be hard sometimes, because we don't know what people are dealing with, and I'm sure my belief is we're all dealing with very similar things, just with kind of different flavors.
100%. And I can't, I'm like the millionth person to say this, but like what we see online, what we see that not in a format like this, right? Just like in the purely curated format, is just the wins, just the successes, just the like, my whole life is being an artist and it's going well. Like, here's the big gigs I'm playing and the cool footage and whatever. And like, that stuff's great. And that's definitely like, those are the amazing things about why we do this. But it's easy for me to even look at other artists, like when they get a gig that I wanted, and I'm like, oh man, like I wish I was in their shoes. And then like, the story is never as clean or as pure or as purely happy or you know what I mean? Like, they've had their setbacks. That gig isn't going to necessarily change their career in the same way that it necessarily wouldn't change yours. You know what I mean? Like, it's so easy to look at the other and feel envious and feel like I want that or whatever. But the reality is, and like, I'm not even trying to gas myself up, but like, there are a lot of artists who are incredible artists, put a lot of time in, but like in a lot of other aspects of their life, they're struggling. And I have compassion for them. And don't get me wrong, I have my own struggles too. But I think like I've had people look at my lifestyle and kind of how I approach being an artist and the rest of my life. And they're like, dude, you're married, you have a kid, you have like, you have some nice things or whatever. And like you also get to do this. Like you just like, you have this whole life, a day job, and then you're playing Mission Ballroom. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. And
Sure.
So one of my really good friends is a Pfeiffer. I don't know if you know him.
Mm-hmm.
Nick. He's the best.
Shout out.
He's playing Mission Ballroom. I'm playing right before him at Mission Ballroom, which is so fun. We used to play a lot more shows together, and it's cool when we get to now. But I played with him in Northern California, Arcata. Like I forget when that was, like in the fall, and I had a great set. It was so awesome. The crowd there was amazing. And I was talking to him about some of this stuff. Like, man, like life is good, but like I just wish I wish touring and gigs and making more music was like even more part of my life. And he's like, dude, I want that for you, and like you're capable of that, and like you should get more gigs and you should make more music. Like that's obviously the goal, but like also if you decided it could just be this, meaning it could just be you play a really good gig every month or two and you have fun, and that's a part of your life which is rich and has so much going on in it and is so complex, and like you get to do that. He really was giving me this like beautiful pep talk, and it like made me tear up because it made me realize like I'm doing it. I am an artist. I'm not touring constantly. I'm not I don't have releases every 2 weeks, you know what I mean? Or even every month sometimes, although we're trying to change that this year, but he's like, you are doing it, and it's your own version of it. And that's
Totally.
and look how far you've come as like more or less your side hustle.
Yeah. Side hustle, side baby.
And I'm side baby, yeah. And I don't know, I guess this is me just trying to like hype myself up in the moment right now, but it's important for me to like remember that. Is the goal still to do more with music? Of course. But like,
so the goal is still like full time. Like if you could snap your fingers and money didn't exist, you'd be doing this full time.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's still in my heart.
Still the North Star.
But it's like there is a certain level of like keep pushing, keep writing, keep booking gigs, but like you're in it, man. You're doing it. Like you're an artist, and you're one that has some respect, and you get to define what that means for yourself. And so I'm still struggling with it. And even as I say it, it's like me almost trying to convince myself, right?
Sure.
If I'm being completely self-aware and vulnerable right now, but it's true.
Yeah. Well, first of all, grass is always greener, right? Like we could all 100%. Look at everyone else or every other thing and be like, oh, but what if, right? It's very easy to invalidate our own experience. So it's great that, Pfeiffer's kind of giving you some affirmation there.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I agree. And by the way, like the road kind of fucking sucks. Like I'm sure there's a luxurious version of it at a certain point where you're like on the nice bus with the nice stuff and the catering and all that kind of stuff. But like I've done 3 to 5 day tours here and there, and like it kind of sucks. Like it's like gas station bathrooms and like fast food and like weird promoters, friends who are like driving you from a show to wherever weird house you're staying at late at night, that like there's a big after party with a bunch of wooks at it, and you're like, why am I sleeping here? This sucks. Like that's actually what touring is. But then like also there's a fun in that. Don't get me wrong, but like the grass is definitely not always greener. Not that I wouldn't kill to play more shows than I am now, but like that's the reality.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what is do you know what the path is? Can you see the path to accomplishing your dream of playing at Red Rocks and maybe even one day being a full-time producer?
It's fine. I just want to say the whole Red Rocks thing because that's like everyone's dream basically in Denver. It's kind of cliche, honestly, to have that dream.
So what?
It just is. But it's also fucking awesome.
Yeah. Who cares?
You're right. But it is still a goal of mine, and I think it's a goal that like as I get closer and closer, it's more of a North Star. Like it's the thing that I'm like walking towards in the desert. You know what I mean? It's the thing that keeps pulling me in a certain direction. I think I've already come to terms with the fact that like if that ever happens, I will walk up on stage, I'll play a set, I'll try to absorb as much as I can while I'm performing. There will be photos and videos. There'll be time in the green room and all that, but like it's not going to make me happy, right? Like the biggest artists will tell you that they've been on the biggest stages with the most audience and like they can still go to sleep that night feeling absolutely terrible about themselves. So I just wanted to note that like it is absolutely my North Star, but I am trying to focus more on the journey, so to speak. But anyway, to answer your question, what does that look like?
Well, do you know what that looks like? It's like you don't necessarily need to detail it, but like, do you see what the path is, and do you think you can/will do it?
I don't know. I don't know if I know the path. All I know is that right now, I really like the work I do outside of just music production. I work at. Can I talk about it for a sec?
Why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I work at Splice currently. I'm a software engineer. I do software and kind of machine learning stuff there. And Splice, for those who are music producers, I don't have to tell you what it is, but it's like a huge tool that most producers use. It's like a library of millions of sounds, and we're building a lot more capability beyond that. So I'm now in a position where I get to work on really cool stuff during the day, and then I get to use it in the studio if I want. That makes me feel very connected with myself because it's a constant thread of who I am. And that's why I'm like pretty stoked on the fact that I have a job, because it's like so closely related to what I love. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's so rare.
It's extremely rare.
Like come on now.
I'm just, yeah. And like, you know what, with tech, it's like nothing lasts forever. The industry's so volatile, and like, I might not have that job forever, but I plan on having it for as long as I can. And what it's done for me is it's opened up a lot of possibilities to work at other companies in music tech. So I'm like really stoked that I finally broke into this world. But yeah, so I'm continuing with that. Like it's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, the people I work with, like I work with producers who are incredible. Like, you know, there's like dozens of employees that have like modular synth racks in their homes. Like it's just like, and these are like people who are like marketing people. Like it's not like everyone's doing production at Splice. You know, there's like a few people who do that, but it's such a cool company to work at. I don't think we have many job openings, but it's still my plug. Anyway, I say that because right now all I know is that I like that. And I also can carve out every morning. I wake up early, I make my coffee, I go into the studio, I put in 2 hours, and I do that on average 5 days a week. And I chip away. And I chip away at songs, I chip away at networking, I chip away at content. And that's what I can do. And I don't know what that leads to. If I get lucky and hit the lottery, yeah, of course, I'll quit my job and go full time on music. And maybe that's my path, and I can start booking a bunch of gigs and have the time to figure all that out. Sure. But right now, all I know is that I can chip away. I can put out music. I can try to be consistent, because consistency as an artist feels good more than anything else. The toughest times, it's like when the studio doors close and I'm like, how am I going to get back in there? But I finally found a way to be consistent, and that's been so awesome. And I think the fruits of that are really going to start to shine this year. I hope.
Well, it sounds like it so far.
Yeah, I got a release that came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do plugs later, but
plug it now.
I just came out with a new song called Learning to Feel. Learning to Feel is the last song in what I'm calling a collection of music. It was originally intended to be like an EP, but it took me longer than expected, so I've just been dropping them as like singles, and so it's like the last single in that collection. I'm really proud of it. I think that between when I took a break from producing before my son was born till now, I think I've like unlocked something in my production and my songwriting. I like sing on the song. It's like bassier and heavier and in some ways than I've ever made, and I think it's gonna go really hard at Mission Ballroom. We'll see. Learning to Feel, and the rest of the tracks on that EP I love too, and they tell the story of kind of my mental health journey over the last couple years, basically. But yeah, that's out, and I've got a lot more planned. I've got possibly something coming from the live performance at Mission Ballroom. we'll see. I have a remix EP with a few remixers coming up and some collabs and singles that are all hopefully going to come together. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, that's my plug.
Good. Well, I like to get it, but like I always forget to remind people, and so it's like if you have the idea, just say it.
Can I plug one more thing?
Yeah.
Last year I recorded something called Kaptain live at Spectra Art Space. Spectra Art Space is a like kind of mini, I mean, they're their own thing, but let's just call it like a mini Meow Wolf in Denver. It's on South Broadway. And I worked with the production team and we filmed a 30-minute set there, me doing my like full live performance, like synths, drum pads, all that kind of stuff. And I think it's such a good representation of what I do as an artist and what I'm trying to bring to the table in terms of my performances. So if you want to get a sense of like who I am as an artist and what my shows are like, I would definitely say take a look at Kaptain live at Spectra Art Space on YouTube. And that's my last.
It'll be in the bio.
Sick.
Or description or whatever the heck it's called. Description.
But yeah, so I guess to bring it back, like it's been really amazing to release a song after becoming a dad because, like I said, there was so much self-doubt about what it would look like. And I'm not going to lie, it's a battle. Like I have so many responsibilities right now that I didn't have before. Life is very full of responsibility and priorities. And in a way, I really have to fight for that time and be disciplined, but like it's possible. And so I'm just going to keep chipping away. I don't plan to take any drastic measures. You know what I mean? That's my path right now. Chip away and see what happens.
You just mentioned therapy and like the whole your journey with like mental health. I'm curious, like, how do you hope you'll grow personally?
Like in my life or like
yeah. So like outside of the professional stuff.
I mean, if you really want me to boil it down, my main goal in my mental health journey is to find the source of love in myself. That's kind of what it all boils down to. Seeking external validation, seeking love and validation from places where I can't get it, has not helped me. And I think at the end of the day, appreciating myself and loving myself and it's not about not needing anybody else. It's not that type of mentality, but it's like finding the interconnectedness between all the love in my life from my friends and other people in my life, and also the confidence in myself that I'm okay. That's really the journey that I'm on, I would say. Yeah, I think I just went straight to the point there. There's a lot of things. There's a lot along the way there.
Sure. You mean like how to get there?
How to get there and like the sort of like, the sort of details of what that feels like and other kind of improvements in my consciousness and my behavior and all that kind of stuff that I could talk about. But at the end of the day, like just being able to sit here and be and exist and be content without needing external stimulus, external validation. I'm worth it. I'm valuable. Like I matter because I'm here and I'm me and I'm pretty cool. That's kind of what I'm trying to get to. Because quite honestly, it's hard for me to get there.
Yeah. Well, I think it's super relevant to a lot of people, myself included. It's also relevant to the name of your song, Learning to Feel.
100%.
You know, it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm injecting some of my personal journey here, but this is my podcast.
You should talk too, man.
Where it's like, everything is just thought, right? Like, oh, what if I'm not good enough? Oh, what about this? What about that? Fear, anxiety, thought. It's just like, well, what if we could just feel through it?
Totally.
Right? Like, sure, anxiety might feel really uncomfortable in the body, or stress or whatever feels really uncomfortable in the body. But if you feel through it, like, it will pass.
100%. I think one of the most powerful things that I don't think it just was that I wasn't taught it. I think most people are not taught this the right way. Is I think a lot of people are taught to avoid uncomfortable feelings.
Yeah.
But all that happens when you avoid uncomfortable feelings is they manifest and they don't go away if you avoid them. Just when I feel something uncomfortable, sitting with it and just sitting with it. Yeah, I feel pain or I feel this very uncomfortable thing. I feel self-doubt. Often the instant response is to try to justify out of that, rationalize out of that, or like find a way to numb yourself or whatever. But like it actually, what you realize is like if you can just sit with that discomfort for 1 second, it kind of just goes away. And I don't think that a lot of people are taught that, and I certainly wasn't. And I'm learning to feel. So that's the whole message, you know.
I love it. I love it.
So yeah, I'm glad that you resonate with that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Oh, it's been a huge part of my journey. So outside of music, your dad, that sounds like it's consumed a lot of your energy.
Yeah.
You're also a husband.
Yep.
Tell us who you are. Like beyond what does it mean to be a father? What does it mean to be a husband?
Oh my God.
Who are you? I know you mentioned skiing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like outside of music, I'm definitely like, as far as like hobbies and stuff, we'll just start simple.
Yeah, we'll start simple.
I absolutely love to ski. If I didn't have a kid, like, so I got like 3 days in this year. Typically I get like 25 or 30 days in, which is pretty good. I'm a backcountry skier, ARI certified, avalanche rescue certified. Have done a bunch of that. I like gravel biking. I'm absolutely obsessed with trail running. I've done some 10Ks, trail 10Ks and stuff for fun, and it's like the most freeing thing for me. I'm a regular, Colorado 30-something-year-old doing regular Colorado 30-something-year-old thing. You know what I mean? Whatever. I don't even know what I just said, but I'm tired. But yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of my life. I am a massive Formula One fan. Absolutely obsessed. That's like my favorite. I mean, it's a sport, but not a typical one. But yeah, it's my favorite sport. I'm okay. I'm an okay athlete. I'm pretty good at tennis. I'm not amazing at anything else, but like I said, I like to run and ski and all that. Hobby. Those are like some hobbies. I go to shows as a fan. I'm not always just an artist in the green room being cynical about the industry. I like to consume music and you know what I mean? Like I like to like be awoke, honestly, sometimes.
Sure.
You know, you can find me once in a while at a festival, like fully wooked out. Yeah. That's like some of the ways that I fill my time. I like sci-fi. I like reading sci-fi.
Nice.
Yeah. As far as like my identity as like a family person, I mean, dude, like being a husband is just like an extension of like having a partner. It's just like a little bit more serious, you know what I mean? Or a lot more serious, but like my wife and I, our relationship is the same, or it's not the same, but it like not that much changes when you get married. It's just a commitment. And I've been with my wife since I was 22.
Oh wow!
I met her like right out of college in San Francisco when she was in school in San Francisco, and I just moved from Berkeley to San Francisco. We've been together a long time, so it feels like just a natural part of my life. We've grown together. We've taught each other things about each other's interests. She did not know anything really about the festival scene and stuff, and now she's an absolute pro. She dresses way better than me at festivals. She's got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's cool that you brought her into that world, and now it's something you share.
Totally. I was at Texas Eclipse a couple years ago, and with a big group, and one of my buddies from college was there, and now he's actually in like a committed relationship. At the time, he had just met somebody or something. And he was like, dude, like, I don't know. She's like not into like electronic music and stuff. And I'm like, but is she like open-minded and do you like her? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you can show her this stuff. Like, I don't know. I heard dating's a fucking mess right now. Maybe you can tell me.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry.
I think it's always been a mess, honestly.
I got lucky. I minimal dating, found somebody that is really good to me and everything. But anyway, keep fighting the good fight on Hinge, everybody. But yeah, I think people maybe think you have to find this perfect match. And I was like, dude, like Lauren didn't know about this whole universe. I just show her. I had to like kind of convince her of the beauty of it. And like, that makes it even better because I got to see that transformation. You know what I mean? So we've been through that kind of stuff, both getting into like different outdoor activities and stuff together. We've really grown together a lot. I mean, we were practically kids when we met. So the marriage, I mean, it's hard work, especially as you get more and more used to each other to like, keep the magic and all that kind of stuff, and the flame, you know what I mean? But But and it's especially hard now with a basically a newborn. But yeah, that's been like kind of just a gradual, constant blooming thing. No idea how to answer the question, like what does it mean to be a dad? That's like something I'm still figuring out, I think,
Sure. I'm sure it's also evolving over time.
Oh yeah, like every day or week.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can help guide me in the right direction.
I mean, how could I possibly? I have zero experience being a dad, let alone being married.
It's my wife and I were just joking about this today. Everything you hear about being a parent, the challenges and the changes and stuff, 100% true. On paper. Living that is a completely different thing. Connecting with something that you created, completely different thing. It's very hard to describe, and I'd say we're still figuring it out,
Yeah.
But it tests you, it tests your patience. It forces you to try to figure out how to be a better person for something that you care about in a way that maybe even a marriage doesn't. There's a lot of change there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes I wish I had my old life back, Sometimes I wish I could just go out on any night, sleep in on any morning, and just live life how I was until very recently. I mean, we partied and did all this stuff up until the wire. And by the way, none of that stuff goes away completely. I've still been out to shows, had a great time. And I think as he gets older and, there's more stability because he's really fragile at the moment, I think that all that's going to come back into our life. We plan to take him to festivals too. That's like the most exciting thing. I thought that you had to turn off your personality and turn off your life. And I think that so many people, at least that I've seen or heard of, kind of like, I'm a mom now or I'm a dad now and that's who I am. But my wife and I are really, really trying to be like, how can we bring him into the things we love instead of creating this separation and like being like, oh yeah, that was the old us. We went to festivals and stuff. Like, so we are taking him to Yondon, which is Pretty Lights' like 3-day festival in the mountains in Buena Vista, Colorado. We're taking him. He's going to be like 9 months. We got an Airbnb. Like we're not camping. We're doing it a little bit like easier and stuff, but we're going to wheel him in on one of those like wagon things. We're going to decorate it with like lights and stuff. We're going to maybe take it a little bit easier than we normally would and be a little bit more responsible in that way, but we're going to be there. You know what I mean? We're so excited to try to do that. And guess what? It's hard. It is not easier to try to incorporate your baby into your life in that way.
Sure.
But it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because we can't be the best parents unless we're who we are. And if we shut off that part of ourselves, then we're not bringing the most beautiful parts of ourselves forward for our son. So that's our goal. We're still in like this early phase where it's like, we haven't had that many opportunities to do that yet, but we're going to get there.
I love that. I mean, preach, mic drop, like well said. I'm actually really curious to see what that little wagon for the kiddo looks like.
We're going to put some like LEDs on it. I think it's going to be sick.
Yeah, get those like oversized earmuffs.
We already have the earmuffs.
Yeah.
He's actually been to his first Red Rock show. But it was like a daytime, like it was basically like, like ecstatic dance.
Yeah.
It was like kind of like that vibe. It was like this daytime, like sober minded, like ecstatic dance party that we like took him to, and we were like way back, so it wasn't too loud, and like, but he's technically been to Red Rocks to a show, so.
Wow, that's impressive. Start him young. Love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have a segment on this podcast where the last guest asks the next guest a question without knowing who that guest is.
Oh, I think I saw this on one of your episodes. Yeah.
Great. So this question's from Fracture.
Okay.
And he asks, what would be the one and only sentence of advice, or just like one and only sentence of advice you'd give to your younger self? And maybe it doesn't have to be advice, just like one thing you would say to your younger self. And younger self is undefined. He didn't specify like at what age.
Well, this is like a crucial theme in what I've been going through in my mental health situation. So I think that's a very good question and very relevant. It's like he knew who he was asking, but it's really hard, but I'll just say what comes to mind. Things aren't necessarily okay right now, and they don't have to be okay.
And why?
When I was going through particularly hard stuff in like high school, I was pushing it down, pretending like it wasn't happening, and I wasn't necessarily being checked on as much as I could have, and there wasn't necessarily somebody at the time, at least, telling me like, hey, this is not cool. None of this is okay. And you're actually in a very difficult situation that's putting a lot of stress on you and maybe even like inflicting some trauma or whatever. Inflicting some trauma. And I think just knowing and being able to recognize in the moment that like, and sit with the fact that things aren't necessarily great right now would have really done me a service. And, cause it's cost a lot to not come to terms with that until recently. Yeah.
It's almost similar to learning to feel, you know?
Yes. You nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet, dude. Is there anything else that you felt like you wanted to share but didn't have an opportunity to? Anything that feels incomplete or missing in your mind?
Oh man, I mean, there's so much we could talk about. This is such a good conversation. No, I mean, I don't know. We could talk for hours. I think this has been awesome, man.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think it's been awesome. I appreciate coming on. I appreciate the vulnerability. I appreciate just the chat.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I did.
Sweet, dude.
Sweet.
All right. Adios, folks.
Peace.
Thank you so much for listening. If any part of this episode resonated with you, I'd really appreciate if you dropped a review, a like, comment, follow, or subscribe. Much love.